Welcome, everybody. This is Gary Bracey from Terra Virtua. Just so delighted today to introduce you to someone I've been a fan of for a while, and someone who, after many conversations, I actually consider something of a friend now, and that is John Taylor Dismukes, an extremely talented artist. I can't begin to tell you what he's been involved with, but that's what this is all about. Who's joined us today. He's getting into the NFT space with Terra Virtua, and we're going to be discussing a little bit about his background, a little bit about the man himself, but mostly about the work that he does, predominantly Death Merchant. So welcome, John.
Thanks, Gary. I'm really glad to be here. It's very exciting. It's been a very exciting project. Everybody here in the studio is very excited.
And just for a bit of a background, you're based in San Diego, right? My favorite place in California.
Yes, we have like 3 studios up and down the coast, but that where I'm at right now for the last 2 years, we've been here in San Diego. And I've actually built a studio on the 20th floor, the 20th floor, and I get to look over all of San Diego. So it's a tighter studio than I'm used to, but I still have all my computers, and it's been my IT guy built a beautiful studio, and I love it here. So yes, to answer your question, we're in San Diego right now.
And is that the gas lamp area for the people who know San Diego?
We're in Little Italy. We actually overlook the Santa Fe Depot. So when you come in on a train, I can see you get off that train. So it's pretty cool. And Little Italy, goes 24/7. So it's just fabulous. If you like good Italian food, this is the place. There's always people on the street. It's just fabulous.
Wonderful. And I know, from my own limited experience, that San Diego is a real creative hub, particularly for artists, which is something I didn't realize before we got into art with Terra Virtua. And Tim Cantor's there, who I also know, and yourself, and you've built an amazing studio. And that's what I sort of wanted to get into, is a little bit of your background, and how because you're predominantly known, I think, as one of the pioneers in digital art, but your career started before that, didn't it? You explain how you got into the whole art thing.
It started way before computers. I started off in San Diego, as a matter of fact. That's one of the reasons I came back. But as a young kid, 19, I came to San Diego, and I went to Mesa College, and I took art classes, and I took a history of art class. And that's where the concept of Death Merchant first came from.
Really? That far back?
In the 70s, there was a movie called Chariots of the Gods. And it was, the concept was they were ancient travelers, and that's who influenced Earth. All these
Eric von Däniken.
Yes, exactly. Most people don't remember. But for me, I was just fascinated by that movie. That's like, okay, now we understand where Egyptian and the Asian empires and all these cultures came from. It made sense to me, because some of these still can't make sense today. It's like the math just doesn't work out. How were those pyramids, even with the massive amounts of slavery, it's just impossible to build those. So anyway, I'm getting off point, so this movie just influenced the crap out of me. So I started sketching and everything. So that was my intro to kind of putting the 7 realms together, if you will.
Wow.
So from Mesa College, I went to San Diego State, and I did a fine art degree where I did hyperrealism, showed in galleries. But my goal was always to build machines, but organic, what I called robots, where they were part human, they were part bot. So I didn't have the skill level. The only place I could find that skill level was Art Center College of Design. And Art Center was known for automotive design, still is. It's like one of the top schools in the world. So I went to Art Center on a scholarship for automotive design. But when I got there, that's when the music industry was taken off. I said, do I want to sit in a room and design handles on cars all day, or do I want to do like robots for hard rock bands. I go, I'm going with the hard rock band.
No contest. Yeah.
Yeah. So I changed. I went into illustration, and that's where I learned the skill level of airbrushing. So when I got out of art center in 1981, I graduated. I had already done 2 album covers for A&M Records, and they just loved me. So I went directly into the entertainment business. And I did things like Mad Max, and for the movies, Jurassic Park, designed the logo for that. So we did a lot of stuff for Hollywood, especially for the rock and roll industry.
I've got to say, and interrupt you there, John, because you're being very humble about it, but you've created and designed some of the most iconic logos and images in the entertainment sphere generally, because how I first got to know was you did Epic, because we have a mutual friend over there, the people who make Fortnite, of course. Was it Unreal or Epic or both?
We did the actual Unreal logo. The one they're using still today is we did Epic logo at that time. I think it's been modified since that time. This was years ago, but they still use that, like the classic Unreal logo that we designed. Yeah. And what's a kick, Gary, is if you see the sketches that went into that, and Mark and I worked really close on that. So there was all these variations from very corporate to this, that one that everybody sees, the blades.
Like the Gothic, yeah.
Exactly. That was like one of the last ones. And so I tell, a lot of young artists, they go, why do I have to do 20 of these? Because you don't know until we see it. You have to experiment through all of these. And so, yeah, the Unreal logo was it's still one of my favorites.
The Unreal Engine, for those who don't know, is the 3D engine used in the games business, in the biggest games, and of course was the engine behind Fortnite, which was developed by the people who make the Unreal Engine. Epic Games, Unreal, same company. But that's not just, that's how I got to know you, but you mentioned Jurassic Park, Mad Max, Addams Family. Addams Family is quite an iconic logo as well. And then some of the records, the music artists you did album covers for, Grateful Dead. To have that on your resume, do you still have, I've got to ask, do you still have the original artwork from that?
I do. I keep, that's one thing I've done throughout my whole career is I keep all of the originals. And I've stored these since some of them since the 70s. So we have cold storage where we keep like all the sketches and all the original art. There's a few of them that we've given away or traded, if you will. But the majority of the collection is still we retain it. This is part of our legacy, if you will.
Amazing. That's fantastic. But they're not in a gallery. They're in obviously storage. They're not anyway.
Gary, to be honest, we've been so busy since 1981. I'm not joking. No. Who has time for galleries? But in the last 3 years, we're putting things together. We got the book coming out, and we're going to do a show and maybe even an auction. We're discussing that. It's not up.
That's fantastic. We can do a virtual gallery for you. We can do a 3D gallery in digital, and people from all over the world can admire your work.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's great. That's fantastic. So, but you were known once the computer art and computer graphics became a little bit more general. You were sort of at the cutting edge of that revolution, if you like, weren't you? And you got involved at a very early stage in using computers to create the artwork. Is that right?
That is right. I'd say we were one of the first. The first computer that we have is really Joanne Redwood, who was a partner at Capstone Studio. But it was the little white ones, you put in, and it was an Apple. But
the little Apple Macintosh.
Yeah,
the boxes. Yeah,
exactly. And she would set type with that, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! It's like a miracle." So when in 1990, like when Apple came out, it was like, this was Photoshop before there was Command Z's and layers, none of that stuff. You got on there and paint, and if it stayed running for an hour and a half, you were just thank you for not crashing. Um, so I airbrush during the day, and then during the night, I would. That's where we started the graphic novel Roaring Silence. And
right.
so, my clients didn't want. I'd say, we should do this in the computer, and they go, "What?" And then, at the time too, there were no printers that could, take the files. There was all this process, and I know you remember, but I mean, we would go have stuff printed, and you look at it, and you go, "What is this? It's not
blocks."
painted." So it took a while. This graphic novel helped us. The whole studio wasn't just me. We would actually shoot it with photography. It was like a multimedia project, but it just taught us how to use the computer. And then after that graphic novel, we would bring the graphic novel around to Paramount, Universal, and all the studios. They go, "You guys did this on the computer?" I go, "Yeah, we did it on the computer." So then they slowly say, "Okay, we'll give you like a B project." And the B projects were my favorite because they would just say, "We don't care what you do, just go do it. Give us the Disney style," which was, skulls and blades and all that stuff. So we would do these B projects, and we just loved it. We just loved it. And soon the studios would come to us because we were using computers.
Yeah.
So
not many others had the expertise, I suppose.
Yeah, you had to have a whole team. I mean, we would have scanners go down at the, 2:00 in the morning or 3:00 in the morning. The guys would come over and fix them, and computers would just stop for no reason. And the monitors were so, we had to have extra air conditioning put in because the monitors were throwing off all this heat, and so were the computers. So we had a whole team of incredible people. At the time was our IT guy. He patched things together. I look at it, I go, it looked like a mad scientist put this stuff together, but it worked. It worked.
Yeah.
It looked like steampunk, right?
Yeah, fantastic.
But but to see something come out of that, it was magical. It was like, and then you could see, like, I see where things are going, man. And it's not with my airbrush. I love my airbrush paintings, but you can't go back. You can't go back once that computer.
So do you not use airbrush or paint at all now?
No, I don't. I build everything. Everything's inside of the computer. And
do you use a graphics tablet then?
I do. I have two. Wacom. I have a Wacom computer, and then I have a Wacom tablet.
Okay.
So sometimes I like the tablets. It's like free form,
Yes.
And my computer is like for super detail. If I'm detailing like an eye or a tooth or something like that, I can get in there and detail it. Which is another cool thing about the computer, man. It's like, when I'm airbrushing, I'd have 8 feet by 4 feet canvases, but in the computer, I could blow up, an eyeball. So it's like, exactly, it's like, oh, come on.
Fantastic. Yeah. That's great. And can I ask, okay, a bit geeky here, and just ask you very, very, what type of computers did you stay with? A Macintosh, or did you branch out to Amigas or Silicon Graphics computers at the time, the big graphics computers?
We have tried everything, but I have, some. I've love not so love relationship with Apple. Some of the pricing, I think, is they priced a lot of the artists out of the, for one of the ones that we use is a $30,000 machine. So a lot of artists can't afford that. You can get the same thing for, PC for half the price. But I love Apple, and I love my Wacom. So, but I've tried everything, but I always come back to Mac. It's just a beautiful thing.
Stick with what you know. And of course, Wacom's been going for so long. When I was in video games, all our artists were using little Wacom graphics tablets. That was back in the 80s. So they've been around for a while as well. So, and now we've got to go on to obviously why we're here today, and that's to talk about NFTs, and obviously this is the next stage in the great revolution. You've always been at the edge. I hate using the tired old phrase, but there's no better, the bleeding edge of technology in your particular path, which is art. And now here you are, getting down and dirty in the weeds with NFTs. And was your first exposure to NFTs with Terra Virtua? I mean, I'm trying to remember back whether it was us who came to you or you came to us. I know it was a mutual friend, but you were interested, I guess.
I wasn't interested. I was fascinating. Gary, what I love about your platform, it's something that I've always wanted to do, and it's like build your own world. And when I saw the dome, the Terra Dome, it was like, dude, the guy. Wait a second, wait, and I could see having, like, my spaceship over here, and I go check it out. It turns around, and I go, and then, what if Death Merchant could actually be in this environment, and you could walk around it, and what if it moved, and what if the snakes? I go, what if? And then Joe Angard, who is a friend of yours and agent of mine, he said, "You got to meet Gary. You got to meet Gary." And I go, you know Gary? So I was very excited about meeting you. And then that's how we met. We started talking about Death Merchant, and I was building Death. I've been working on it for 2 years, the 3D version. But he came out of that movie I told you back in the 70s. But 1982 was the first Death Merchant. So right. When I saw this, we're right in the almost finishing the 3D model, which you see behind me. And then I shared that with you. And then the excitement that I saw in you go, oh my God, this would be perfect for the dome, right?
Yeah, so, absolutely.
But then I give you the team, the model, and it's 60 million polygons. He goes, no, you can't do 6, John. No, you can't do that. So your team, thank goodness, and just great guys and girls, but great guys, were able to take that 60 million polygon to 1 million and do what they did with 1 million polygons. It's like amazing.
It is. We're really, really pleased with it. But I think everyone loved the core material so much that it wasn't difficult to get them to do it. And it really is. It was inspirational. But this was your vision originally, John. You saw the Terra Dome, and you wanted this to be. You wanted Death Merchant to be in this environment. You wanted it brought to life. So it was truly a collaboration. I mean, your incredible work and your design, your studio's design, and the character itself, and then our guys managed to bring it to life and animate it. And this is quite a while ago. I mean, we've been talking about this for what seems to be forever. But there have been stumbling blocks, as you say. We had an issue with the resolution. You've done it super detailed. It's an incredible resolution, which obviously is not compatible with most people's streaming capabilities. So we had to downscale it. But also, obviously, you had concerns, quite rightly, as we did, that back in the day when we started talking about this, the whole concept of NFTs was very, very bad for the environment. It was very energy inefficient. And what you wanted to do was wait until we'd found a sustainable solution, which we did by migrating everything into the Polygon blockchain without getting too technical. But it's something that really uses negligible energy, which is something we wanted to achieve, and also made you feel a lot more comfortable once we had that solution. So, these things do take time, but I think we've been speaking for over a year now, haven't we?
It's been over a year, but it's definitely worth the wait.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's the again, your team has just been incredible, Gary.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll pass that on because they're very proud of what they do. But of course, I think it always shows when they love something and they love your work. So of course that extra effort went into it, and it does become a collaboration, and hopefully just the beginning of something that's going to grow. So just to talk about the culture of Death Merchant itself, because I know time's running short. You, as you said, you conceived of this. We're talking about 40 years ago, I think, aren't we? You said
That's
the
correct.
80s. Yeah. So I mean,
1980, yeah, 1982 was
well,
the that's when
that
the
is
airbrush painting was completed.
that is 40 years ago when you were 2 years old. Amazing.
That
So,
is true. That's why I wear sunglasses. You saw my real life. It's bad, man.
I know. Hey, I can't talk. So,
Yeah,
yeah. So it's 40 years ago. You conceived of it, and obviously you've been continuing, and it's improved and it's iterated, and now you've got a whole storyline. You've got a whole concept there. This isn't just a single painting that you have behind you. You've created a universe, really, or as we'd like to say now, a metaverse, as it will be, a death merchant culture that you now want to see brought to life in more ways. And if you can sort of just briefly outline the culture of the death merchant and what it's supposed to represent.
Death Merchant is part of the seven realms, and it's a very deep and complex story. It's almost like a white paper. I usually use like a PowerPoint presentation. Here's the planet, and there's dark side, light sides of the planet, and it's these six cultures or six galactic travelers. They come to Earth thousands of years ago, and they spawn these different cultures to see what would prosper the best on this planet. Because the most valuable thing in the universe are the places you live, and planet Earth is one of the most beautiful. So that was the whole idea. Okay, let's see what these wonderful people can do with all these wonderful cultures.
And there's the elemental thing, isn't there, going on as well?
Oh yeah, earth, wind, fire, water. So you have the elements coming in too, and then you have the male, female, the different cultures, the different religions. So if you had like 3 hours, I would love to take you through this whole universe. It's wonderful, and it's coming to an end of one of the main chapters. The fire, the earth, the elements. This is like one of the end chapters. So,
well, it's interesting, John, because what this does, timing wise, we were talking about bringing in Death Merchant to the Terra Dome and everything else, and now everyone's talking about the metaverse, right? We were talking about it. You and I were talking about this over a year ago, bringing to life your creation in an environment and bringing in the storyline and growing this whole thing. We are now at the beginning of that journey. And in fact, this is launching today. And this is just the beginning. We're launching Death Merchant, as you can hopefully see on the screen right now. And this is the first of the entree, I guess, into what may well become the Seven Realms metaverse, based on John and his team's vision and imagination and skill and creativity. And this is what's exciting. It's a whole new thing. This isn't a movie or a graphic novel or any of the traditional medium. This is the metaverse. This is new. This is what the metaverse has been created for, or is being created for. And that must make you excited.
Gary, it's so exciting. You realize this too, and I think that's one of the reasons that you and I get along so well. You've been in the gaming industry since the 80s. I've been in it And that's what I love so much about you is I think at the time we thought someday this would be possible. That day is now. It's starting now. And I don't think I know in 5 years from now, you and I will be sitting here do you remember when we started this 5 years ago?
Yeah. And everyone will be doing it then. It's just wonderful. And as I say, and I keep saying it, and I'm not blowing smoke or anything, but to be part of such a creative collaboration. I mean, we're involved in all sorts of stuff, but there's genuinely an affection for what you're doing, and not just with me. I mean, I love everything about the Death Merchant and everything that you're doing, but that infection has carried through to our developers, as you've seen in the animations they've made, and as we build this out and build the worlds, as is going to happen at some point in the future, you've got that enthusiasm that's just infectious throughout it. And I've got to say this as well, because it's also a pleasure to work with creative people who don't have the ego that maybe some do. You are an absolute pleasure to work with. You and your team, we get along so well, and it's lovely. I do miss our calls. We haven't had any calls for a while, but it's great to collaborate with like-minded people. And I think we're all in this. Yes, it's a business and everything else, but it's also an exciting journey. And we're blessed that we managed to find you and we discovered each other. It sounds a bit corny, but it's true.
Gary, it is true, and we're super excited. And again, thank you to your team and for everybody at our studio, your studio. It's just it's a beautiful beginning, and it's just the beginning, just the beginning.
The start of the journey, absolutely. And on that, I can't think of a better note to end on that. Please, everyone, thanks for listening. Hopefully, you've got a little bit better insight into John and Capstone Studios, and today at 2 p.m. is the big launch of Death Merchant. Check it out. It's such a beautiful piece of artwork. And if you can, lay your hands on one, because this is just the start of something that we hope will become very, very big. John, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for trusting us with your baby. And it'll be interesting to watch. Thank you so much.
Look forward to it. Thank you, Gary.
All the very best. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
you.